First, a little bit about me. Well, you see there my beautiful family, and I am Matt Matheson. I'm a teacher. I'm an administrator with 15 years of classroom experience. I have a master's in education. I'm also a freelance personal finance writer. And you know what? I help parents raise kids who are wise with money. I blog and I have a site over at familymoneyschool.com, and I will talk more about that a little bit later in the presentation. Now, I have a massive passion for teaching kids about money. And I've taught personal finance, I've taught entrepreneurship. I have such a passion that it really spilled over into me starting my site to hopefully broaden my scope of being able to help kids and help parents learn more about their finances to live lives of financial peace. But the most important thing about me that you need to know is that I'm a dad and I'm a husband. And like I said, you can see my beautiful family there, my lovely wife, and my three wonderful kids. That really is what drives my passion for helping parents and helping kids become the masters of their finances. So I wasn't always so passionate about money. My wife and I had dated for about a year before we got engaged. And once we were engaged, she actually challenged me to learn more about money. You know, we were going to be joining our finances together. We were going to be starting to manage our money together, joining accounts. And she said that, you know, it would make her feel a lot more safe, a lot more comfortable if I upped my financial knowledge. And so, you know, newly engaged, you know, I want to do everything I can to make our marriage just a wonderful thing. And so that really kickstarted me on a journey to learn everything that I could about money. And over the next couple of years, I devoured books, podcasts, journal articles, blog posts about money like a sumo wrestler at an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet. You know, I really crushed my financial knowledge. But things really changed for me on a very cold Thursday morning in January. And it was on this very cold Thursday morning that I was in a car with my wife, who was 9 months pregnant. We were speeding through traffic in my little white sports car. And I was literally doing my best Dale Earnhardt impression. I was bobbing and weaving down the highway. And my wife in the seat next to me was praying, and she was texting our Bible study group to pray as well. And that's because just a few minutes before, during what we thought was a routine ultrasound, a few weeks before the baby was due, we'd been given the news that absolutely no parents, especially, you know, first-time parents, want to hear. The radiologist had told us that our baby was in distress and that we needed to get to a hospital right away. So as we rushed into the hospital, you know, the nurses, they moved my wife into a bed, and honestly, my world started to just spin. You know, we saw multiple doctors, like one after the other, lots of nurses. And finally, we spoke to a surgeon who described what they were going to need to do in order to save our baby. And my world literally was just spinning, and things honestly were moving so fast that actually during the talk with the surgeon, I actually stopped him and I said, "So what you're telling me is that we're going to have our baby today?" And he responded with, "No, what I'm telling you is that you're going to have your baby in a few minutes." So now, as I picked my jaw up off of the floor and the reality of what was happening sunk in, you know, my wife was wheeled into the operating room, and I had a few quiet moments to just steady myself and pray before I was actually called into the OR for the emergency C-section. Now, inside, the doctors were calm, they were cool and collected. And as my wife, who was such a rock star, lay there, things started to slow down. You know, fortunately, everything went smoothly, and our little baby girl arrived with a flurry. But both she and my wife were healthy and happy. And for me, the joy of the moment was mixed with kind of the gravity of everything. Suddenly it wasn't just my wife and I that we needed to provide for. Now we had this precious little life depending on us to prepare her to live a life of joy in a rough and tough world. And, I have to be honest with you, I felt woefully underqualified. As I lay awake some nights thinking about, all the things I needed to do to help her grow into a successful, child and teen and adult, my thoughts often turned to finances. That was, I was in the middle of just learning all this information. And so it often turned to money. And, I thought about all the things that I'd learned and that I wanted to pass on to her. The things I wanted to give this baby, this beautiful little girl, that she would need to live a life of financial freedom and peace. I didn't want her to struggle with money. I needed to teach her, the value of hard work, how to spend and save wisely, and seemingly, hundreds of other lessons that she would need to win with her money. But I have to admit, I felt overwhelmed. There was so much to pass on. I've learned a ton about money in the previous years. When I say I've read almost everything about money, I mean, it's an exaggeration. I've read everything, but a ton, from the Bible and Nobel scholars to, wealthy barbers and millionaires next door, over thousands of hours. And I'm not kidding about that. Like, ask my wife. I had learned countless strategies, techniques, and tools for how to handle money wisely. And, while the details are important, I quickly came to the conclusion that the details aren't where you should start when you're teaching your kids. In order to build a solid financial foundation for your kids, you need to start at, not surprisingly, the foundation. A very wise man, who I'm sure you all know, once said that only fools build houses on sand, but the wise build theirs on rock. And when it comes to money, there are 5 strong bedrocks of money that great parents use to teach their kids about money. And you need to establish these to ensure that your kiddo lives a life of financial peace. And we're going to dig into these foundational pieces inside what I could refer to as the 5 pillars of money framework. Now, I know you're asking yourself, or you may be asking yourself, do I really need to invest thousands of hours to give my child, everything they need to live a life of financial peace? Well, the answer to that is no. And that's why I've taken everything that I've learned about money and personal finance. I've combined it with my professional skills and knowledge as an educator to create this presentation. And in addition to this presentation, I've also created a number of done-for-you money courses for kids inside of FamilyMoneySchool.com. And these courses, along with the 5 pillars of money framework that we're going to talk about in just a second here, will give you absolutely everything you need to raise money-wise kids who thrive as adults. And, I have to say, there has never been a more important time in history to be money-wise. Being financially savvy has never been more critical. And, I would even say that there's never been a time when achieving financial peace is actually more elusive. Our world is saturated by greed, selfishness, and, the discontentment that always follows. As a parent, we try to insulate our kids from these outside influences as much as possible. We educate them at home. We take an active role in encouraging them to make wise friends. We monitor the shows they watch and the games they play. But, life is crazy. And you can't control everything they're exposed to. And in spite of all that we do, these outside forces still manage to creep in. I mean, not to mention the fact that greed and selfishness are hardwired into our fallen selves. And as parents, we know all too well, these aren't traits that we need to teach our kids. They are born with them. And it's why we have to be intentional about sharing and giving these values to our kids. Now, just like we have to be intentional in developing these positive character traits in our kiddos, we also need to be intentional in giving our kiddos the solid foundation they need to be wise with money. But you don't need to actually be a money genius yourself to raise a kiddo who's money wise. No, you just need to be intentional in giving them the solid financial foundation that they need. And if what I'm going to share with you today rings true for you, which I think it will because you've made the effort to be here, then I think you're going to really love the courses inside of Family Money School. So let's dive in. Okay, so first thing I want to ask you is, what is the most important thing that you should teach your kids about money? Okay, what is the most important thing that you should teach your kids about money? So I'll just look at the chat, and you can just type anything in. Let's see here. Okay, so in the chat, most important thing. So when it comes to this question, I've heard everything. I've heard, it's very important to teach kids how to save. It's critical to teach kids how to earn money. Oftentimes people talk about generosity, and these things are all good. They're all really good. But part of the problem sometimes when parents try to teach their kids about money is that they can get bogged down in the nitty-gritty details. And when they get bogged down in the nitty-gritty details, you can lose your kids. And, as adults, we know that there are literally thousands of financial concepts and ideas that we need to understand in order to, win with money. We're talking about things like banking, credit cards, our Roth IRAs, regular Roths, index funds, stocks, bonds, taxes, mortgages, interest rates, charitable donations, etc. There are literally tons of things. And, we care about each of these topics, or maybe I'm the only one, because they have an impact on our lives and our well-being. If you start teaching your kids about money by focusing on these detailed concepts, I'll tell you, you will lose them almost instantly. Why? Because, whether your kid is 6 or 16, they can't see past the end of their nose, let alone 50 years into the future when they'll need a well-stocked retirement fund, 401k to provide for their needs. And it's no fault of their own. Their brains haven't developed to the point yet where they are able to see the long-term consequences of their decisions. So because of this, your kid doesn't care about these topics because they don't relate to them today. So in order to teach your kids about money, great parents know that you need to boil all the concepts down into just a few big ideas that your kiddo can relate to today. And those concepts I refer to as the 5 pillars of money. So these big ideas include how to work, how to spend, how to save, how to give, and then the 5th pillar of money, which oftentimes gets missed by financial gurus, is that money isn't everything. Okay, in spite of the fact that that's actually the most important of all the pillars of money, it's the one that most often gets overlooked. Now, one of the best things about teaching the big ideas first, rather than the specifics, is that if your kiddo can begin to master the big ideas, they'll be prepared to put into practice the specific details that they learn as teenagers and adults. So for example, let's say your daughter knows how to spend wisely. Well, she shouldn't spend money that she doesn't have. And as she grows older and learns about debt, credit cards shouldn't be a problem. Student loans, you should be all good there. Car payments? Nope. Now, as she gets older, it is important that she learns the specific details around things like investing, retirement accounts, credit cards, interest rates, mortgages, principal, things like that. And for parents, one of the big questions that I often get is, how do I know what specifics to teach my kiddo about money? And then the second question is, how do I actually teach them what they need to know to experience financial peace as an adult? And those two questions, how do I know what I need to teach and how do I actually teach them, are the reasons why I created the fun and engaging money courses for kids and for teens inside of Family Money School, to help your child become a money rock star for life. And later on, I'll show you how you can enroll in a course that is the perfect fit for your kid's age and stage. Okay, but let's dive in right now to the first of the 5 pillars, which is learning how to earn. So when it comes to raising kids who grow into money-wise adults, few things go further than a great work ethic. Learning how to work has countless benefits, including, developing the tools and character that your child will need to be a successful adult. Now, not to mention that people with strong work ethics actually take pride in their work, and they actually enjoy higher levels of job satisfaction than do slackers. But kids are smart. They know that there is no such thing as a money tree. So the first thing you need to encourage them to understand is where money actually comes from. And where might that be? Well, unfortunately, money trees don't exist. Although, did you know they actually do? There is actually a money tree. It's just a regular tree. Unfortunately, it doesn't sprout $100 bills, just leaves. But for many kids and teens, they legitimately think that money does just sort of mysteriously appear from ATMs. Or they think there's a limitless supply on those, seemingly magical plastic devices called credit cards, which, as far as I'm concerned, it's black magic. But in all seriousness, kids need to understand where money comes from. And where might that be? I doubt any of you are waiting with bated breath, but we all know, where does money come from? Largely, it comes from work. Kids need to understand the connection between working and earning. If you don't work, you won't get paid. So if you'd like to have money, you need to work. Now, as I alluded to, the benefits of learning how to work go far beyond simply earning money. Research from Dr. Angela Duckworth, a McCarthy Genius Award recipient, found that kids who display grit, which is just another term for stick-to-itness, not only do better in school, but they go on to earn higher incomes in the future. And here's the best part: you can actually teach grit. So if you can teach your kid to be gritty, they actually will go on to earn more and have better job satisfaction in the future. And what's one of the best ways to teach grit? It's work. So with that in mind, here are 2 activities that you can use to give your kiddo the opportunity to learn how to work. Okay? The first is called Chore Roulette. So the rules are very simple. Each week, you choose the top 8 chores that need to be done. So, we're talking things like cleaning bathrooms, mopping floors, vacuuming, dusting, things like that. Write them down on the individual sections of a spinner, like the one you see there. Depending on the number of people in your family and their ages, each person will spin once or twice. Younger kids, they get less chores, and you can even kind of rig the game so that their jobs require less supervision. The rules are simple. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. There's no complaining about what jobs you get. Some weeks you'll get bathrooms back to back. Others, you'll go a month without having to scrub a toilet. It is what it is. Now, if you do grumble, well, then you get a bonus chore. Then crank up the music, set the timer for whatever you feel is appropriate. I'd say 30 minutes to an hour or so, and get after it. If someone gets done early, they can pitch in and they can help someone else out, as long as the individual has been working hard and not slacking off. And because I've got your back and I want to make things as simple as possible, to make your own spinner, you can use the directions and the template that I've provided in your workbook. So you can check that out. Now, we also have a chore chart that we keep on our fridge that we use with our own kids. And if you check out your workbook, you'll see a copy that is my gift to you. Just write along the tops of each column what chores you want your kiddo to complete each week. And I've also built several chore charts inside of the Family Money School courses that are customizable. They have actually different drag and drop icons and visuals for each chore so that we can switch things up and we can add and take off different chores to our kids' charts as they get older. I love the visuals because oftentimes with a visual, if you get a child that's a little bit younger that you want to start on chores but doesn't know how to read yet, the visual is very powerful and a very easy way for them to start learning how to do their chores and to track what chores they are actually responsible for. Now, for older kids, I want you to try this. So imagine all the jobs around your house that would be nice to have done, but that you never seem to have time for, or which would be, above and beyond, your children's normal tasks. So, everyday expectations, making your bed, loading the dishwasher, taking out the trash shouldn't be on this list. We're talking about things like washing the floors, cleaning the windows, weeding the garden, washing the deck, maybe painting a fence. Then grab a bunch of popsicle sticks and write the jobs down on them, along with how much you'd be willing to pay your kids if they are completed to your satisfaction. Okay, get a jar, decorate it up all fancy, and fill it with the popsicle sticks. And then the last step, this is the critical step, set the jar in a location where your kids can't miss it. Perhaps it's beside the TV, a computer, or their Xbox. Then give them the opportunity to choose which jobs they'd like to complete for money. Now, as they do, you'll not only be strengthening the connection between working and earning money, you'll also be stoking their entrepreneurial spirit as they get experience working for themselves, which is fantastic. All right, let's look at pillar number 2, which is savvy spending. Now, one of the best things that you can do with money is to spend it. Now this may fly in the face of conventional money wisdom, but think about it for a second. Think about all the wonderful things money can buy. Experiences like amazing vacations and road trips and movie tickets, seats to your favorite team's games. It can buy quality education and open up a world of knowledge that before, we may not have known even existed. You can help those in need with money and give wonderful gifts with it. And it can buy fun things like bikes, cars, computers, Costco hot dogs, and other things that don't start with the letter C. And it can buy my personal favorite, pizza. Delicious. But as P.T. Barnum said, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. Money has 2 sides to its personality, Jekyll and Hyde. You master it, and it can be a wonderful servant. But be mastered by it, and your life will be miserable. And life is miserable for many. According to a recent poll, 30% of people say that they are constantly stressed about money. That's 1 in 3 people constantly stressed about their finances. So for these people, money is their master. And that's definitely not what you want for your kiddo. So why are they so stressed about money? Well, a lot of it has to do, I'm convinced, at least in their minds, with not having enough of it. Money is finite. It doesn't grow on trees. Yes, you can always get more, but there is not an unlimited supply. But winning with money is not about making more of it. No, what you'll find is that if you're always striving for more, you will never have enough. As the Bible says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. That rings so true for many people today. No, instead, for your child to win with money, you need to show them that it's all about managing well what they have. And in order for them to master their money, there are some key principles you need to teach them. So the first principle you need to teach them is the difference between needs and wants. And people of all ages have a hard time with this. And honestly, who can blame them? To a 5-year-old, they really do feel like they need those whipped cream stuffed cookies they see on the shelf at the grocery store. Adults often exclaim that they need a vacation. And teenagers may feel that they need those designer jeans or the latest version of the iPhone. But the reality is that these aren't really needs. Now, a need is something that you have to survive. So examples include things like food, water, shelter, clothing. A want, on the other hand, is something that makes life more comfortable. So examples would include gourmet food, Coke with your dinner, a spacious home, designer clothes, a cell phone, recreation, things like that. Now, sometimes it can be hard for kids, and honestly, adults for that matter, to figure out figure out if what they are looking to buy is a want or a need. One little trick that you can show your kid is to look at what's motivating their purchase. So for example, if they're looking at buying, let's say new shoes, because their current pair has a hole in them, well, that's a need. If they're buying new shoes because they're tired of their current pair, well, that's a want. Now, this all sounds good in theory, but how do you actually make this happen? Well, one great strategy that you can model and pass on to your child or teen in order to help them determine if something is a need or a want is to ask them some questions that will bring clarity to their decision. So let's say your teen is deciding whether or not to buy a new cell phone. They're not sure whether or not the phone, which let's say costs $250, is a need or a want. So in order to make a wise decision, have them reflect on the potential purchase using the following questions. And remember, sometimes what distinguishes a need from a want is the motivation for the purchase. So to determine if what they want is a need or a want, lead them through these reflection questions. And don't forget there's space in your workbook to write these down. Okay, so first question is, how long will I use this item? Is this going to be something you're only going to use once and then you're not going to use it again for like another 10 years? Is the item worth the money that you will spend on it? Is the item a good deal? Do you feel like it's a really good deal, or do you feel like you're overpaying for it? 1 year from now, will I still have this item? And also 1 year from now, will I be happy that I bought this item, or will I wish that I still had the money that I had spent? You can ask, do I already have another item that serves the same or a very similar purpose? And one of my favorite questions is, can I borrow this item? Is this an item that I can borrow from someone so that I don't have to actually purchase it? So for example, let's say they're currently not using a cell phone and they only plan to use the new cell phone when they need to call you after soccer practice is done or maybe after school. Well, is it a need or a want? Could they borrow their friend's phone to call? Do you own an older phone that they could use? Is the item on sale? And one of my favorite questions is, are they desperate to buy it now? If the answer to that question is yes, that is often a telltale sign of a want and not a need. Now, as you lead your child in answering these questions, they'll start to gain clarity on whether or not the item is a need or a want. And just remember that the power of these questions is in revealing what is prompting them to buy. It's all about their motivation. Clothing is definitely a need, but designer shoes and $200 jeans, I don't think so. Now, in addition to thinking about these questions, I've also developed a needs and wants inventory inside of Money Genius Academy, which is our course for teens. Now, this allows students to explore some potential purchases and determine whether they are needs or wants. We then walk through several reflection questions to help them examine their spending habits and grow into savvy spenders. Now, one final note, spending money on wants isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's one of the most fun things you can do with money. We talked about that earlier. But being wise with money means that you need to be sure that you spend on your needs first. Now, this may mean holding off or saving up little by little to buy them. Because if you spend on your wants first, you may not have anything left over to meet your needs. All right, let's look at the third thing great parents teach their kids about money, which is how to be smart savers. Now, when it comes to saving money, 40% of adults don't have the cash to cover a $400 emergency. So that's almost half of adults don't have $400 to cover an emergency. Now, in addition to that, 30% of households have less than $1,000 tucked away. Yikes. But this isn't how it's going to be for your child. Your kids are going to fly in the face of the cultural famine of savings. To do this, you need to start at the end and work backwards. So start by asking your kiddo what some of their personal goals are right now. Let the question sink in for a few seconds after you've asked them. What is it they want to achieve or experience in the next month or two? For older children or teens, you can stretch the timeline out a few years. What about the next 10 years, 20? And which of these goals will require money? Now, while money can't buy them happiness, it will play a role in helping them reach many of their goals. For example, money is needed to make the following things happen. Buying your first car, saving enough money so you can go to college, socking away enough money so you can buy your own laptop or maybe tablet, going to summer camp, moving out and getting your own place, taking music lessons, getting married and having a wedding, starting and raising your own family. Whatever your kiddos' goals are, what will it take to make them happen? And how can money be a part of that? Now, explain to them that when you think about achieving your goals, it's best to think backwards. What do you mean backwards? Yes, backwards. Use the following example to explain what you mean. So I want you to imagine that you're planning a fundraiser for an orphanage overseas. Your goal is that you want to raise $5,000. Okay, fantastic. That is an awesome goal. Now, in order to reach your goal, you wouldn't just try to whip some lame event together at the last minute. No, you put a lot of time into planning it. You think about all the people you wanted to invite, and you'd send out the invites well ahead of time so that people would be able to attend. You'd plan what activities would go on during the event, the food you'd serve, how much it would cost, and how you would encourage people to donate. You'd have to decide on the location, you'd choose something to wear and determine how to do your hair. For some of us, the options are a little more limited than others. Now, the point is you would start at the end, raising $5,000 and work backwards. You design your whole event with that end in mind so that you could successfully reach your goal. And it's exactly the same with financial goals. Too many people spend their hard-earned money without having a plan. And because of this, they spend and spend and spend and then wonder why they don't have any money left to achieve their goals. And it's because they didn't use smart planning. Now, in Money Genius Academy, our course for teens, we spend an entire lesson detailing what it looks like to set SMART, capital S-M-A-R-T goals. We unpack the specific steps that kids can take to set killer goals, and more importantly, how to achieve them. And then we detail how they can use a process called smart stacking to reach even bigger goals, financial goals or otherwise, and to exceed their wildest expectations for what they actually thought was possible. Now, when it comes to teaching your kiddo how to save, one of the best ways is to gamify their savings. Who doesn't love games? I'll tell you who does love them, kids. And one way to fast track your child's savings is to add an element of gamification to the mix. Gamification, it's a $10 word, but it has a really simple meaning. It just means adding in some of the common features of games to make some sort of non-game activity more fun. It's been used to make typically unfun activities like typing, learning math facts, even reducing company sick days more exciting and engaging. And if it can work for those things to make them less boring, it can work wonders for saving money. Now, not only does it make saving more fun, it also ramps up the engagement so that your kiddo will be on fire when it comes to stashing away their cash. So what can you do to gamify? Well, it's not as complicated as it sounds. One great thing you can do is 30-day challenges. So using short time frame challenges can be an awesome way to challenge your kiddo to see how much money they can save. So for example, let's say they're saving up for a new bike, and then let's say it's $500. Encourage your kiddo to set a goal to reach that amount in 30 days. So in order to get there, encourage them to sell an item a day on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or some other platform. If your kids are like mine, they have tons of toys and gadgets that are just gathering dust that can be turned into cold, hard cash. And these types of challenges have an added benefit. As your child goes through their old stuff and decides what to sell, it's the perfect teachable moment to talk about why they bought or asked for those items in the first place. Were they good financial decisions, or did they end up being a waste of money? And as you build your kiddo's saving momentum by using a progress bar or thermometer to measure their progress, it will take off. It's very simple. You can take their total savings goal and break it down into equal chunks. So each time they move a bit closer to their goal, just color in a section of the thermometer. Seeing the sections of the thermometer get colored in is a simple but tangible reminder of their progress forward in reaching their savings goal. And this will build momentum even more to help them reach their goal even faster. Now, the next thing you can do is to reward the small savings chunks, but you need to do it smartly. Now, I'm not talking about giving your kids a trophy every time they save a few bucks. Of course, we all want our kids to be motivated because of the internal traits we're trying to develop in them. But, it's hard to argue at times with good old-fashioned rewards for reinforcing behavior. Now, the problem with rewards is one of long-term motivation. When kids, and adults for that matter, are given if-then reward scenarios, so that would be like, if you save $50, we'll have a popcorn and movie night. What happens is the focus is taken off of the saving, which is the act that you actually want to teach, and it's put on the movie night, the reward. So you emphasize the reward at the expense of the action you actually want to teach. So for your next savings goal, your kiddo is going to be looking to you to provide some motivation to save. And instead of saving for saving's sakes, you can build their internal motivation. Okay. Now, the outcome is completely different if rather than using if-then rewards, you use now-then rewards. With now-then rewards, you expect kids to save money with no mention of any type of reward. Now, as they are saving, you pay close attention and you then surprise them from time to time with a reward that reinforces their ongoing and continual hard work at savings. Now, with this small tweak in how you reward them, they'll quickly learn to focus their attention on the savings and not the reward used to reinforce it. So you might be asking, well, when should we use each type of reward? Well, if-then rewards are definitely a part of life. And we talked about it already. If you work, then you get paid. If you exercise, then you get in shape. If you don't do your homework, your grades will suffer. So it's not like if-then rewards are always bad. In fact, it's like I talked about, it's one of the ways that we use to encourage your kiddo to work hard by giving them commissions for their jobs. And it's a method that I encourage teenagers to use to help them grow into money rock stars in my course called Money Genius Academy. But when it comes to developing certain behaviors, especially the ones you want them to do, which won't always be rewarded, or ones that won't be rewarded until like further in the future, things like saving, now then rewards are the perfect fit. And inside of Family Money School, variety of different courses, we spend a lot of time teaching kids not just why they should save, but how. We have a ton of engaging and fun activities that are designed to help kiddos save for both the short and the long term. We talk about why it's so important to start saving early, how to pay yourself first. We talk about what their risk tolerance is when it comes to investing and how they can put systems in place that will allow them to experience a lifetime of financial peace and security, and how to become millionaires in the next 20 years or so. Now, the fourth thing that all parents who are awesome at teaching their kids about money pass on to their children is the gift of giving. This is all about how to build generosity. Now, as we talked about, tons of people are stressed about their finances. Money stress is sky high right now. In fact, there was one survey that showed that 36% of adults have lost sleep because of worries over money. But that's not going to be your child, because you are going to teach them how to be the master of their money. And for them, the silver bullet to avoid the stress and worry about money is summed up in one surprising word: bacon. No, I'm serious. You don't believe me? Well, let's chat about how bacon is the magic tool to help your kid master their money. Now, if you've never heard of money expert Francis Bacon, well, get in line. The only reason I'd ever heard of him was because he's actually the inventor of the scientific method. But little did I know that the 16th century English writer, scientist, and philosopher was also a personal finance expert. It was Bacon who said that money is a good servant, but a poor master. You can't serve two masters. If you don't master it, it will master you. And Bacon understood what Jesus explained centuries before. When it comes to money, there is no middle ground. Either you own it or it owns you. You're either its master or its slave. So how do you go about helping your kiddo become the master of their money? Well, one of the best ways is to be generous. Well, you might be asking yourself, what? Giving? How can that help my kiddo become the master of their money? Well, people who are generous aren't controlled by their money. In fact, they're so in control of their finances that they're actually able to give it away. You know, for the more stingy members of society, the hoarders of wealth who may have lots of money, but who are controlled by it, this seems crazy. You know, they might be thinking, why would I give away what I had worked so hard for, what I sacrificed over, what I worried about? Just doesn't make any sense. But for the 55% of millionaires who give to churches or charities on a regular basis, it makes perfect sense. These millionaires have understood what I call the Bacon principle, that money is like manure. It's best if you spread it around. So how can you help your kiddo grow in generosity? Well, here is an awesome activity you can use to build lasting generosity in your kids. It's called the Big Give. And I got it from my friend Andy Hill at Marriage, Kids, and Money. And when I saw it, I just knew that I had to share it with everybody. So the first step is to get milkshakes and ice cream. Okay, why? Well, because everything is better with milkshakes and ice cream. Okay, step 2 is have your kids decide what they're going to contribute. So for our family, our kids set aside 10% of their commission earnings each week, and they put it in their give jars. So setting up jars for young kids to intentionally give, save, and spend is something that I'm super passionate about. And I go into detail about how to make it happen in my course for kids under 12 called Young Money Adventures. And for teens, as they start getting jobs outside of the home, receiving paychecks, you know, we spend a ton of time inside of Money Genius Academy, which is my course for teens, detailing the best types of accounts to open, how to set up their finances to make their wise choices automatic by automating their saving, and why generosity really is the key to winning with money. Now, in step 3, if you've got something similar to a give jar, your kids can empty out their jars and count up the money. Now, if you haven't implemented anything like that yet, you can just move right on to step 4. So step 4 is to watch 3 videos from charity websites so that your kids can decide who they want to give to. So we often choose charities that are connected with kids because that's what our kids are connected to. You should choose a charity that speaks to your kids, okay? So now if you didn't count up the money that you're going to give in step 3, now is the time to talk with your kids about how much they'd like to donate to help out one of the organizations that you just learned about. Now, step 5 is to match your kids' donation. So double the impact that they're going to have and take their generosity to the next level. The next step is to actually make the donation on the website and have your kiddo write a special note of encouragement to the organization, as well as a few details about who is actually making the donation. Now, this little extra step will make the act of giving much more personal and will help your kiddo to connect with the organization on a deeper emotional level. And psychology has established that this emotional connection actually improves memory, which can lead to the effects of this activity being much more long-lasting. Now, the final step is to talk to your kids about the impact they're having on these organizations and the world. You know, let them know that you are proud of them because they're making the world a better place to live in and that they're treating others the way they want to be treated. And then simply rinse and repeat every few months or so for the rest of their childhood. You know, not only will you have supercharged their generosity, but maybe, just maybe, they will do the same with their own kids. Now, Whether it's tithing to your church, donating to charities that sponsor children in need, or paying for a few people behind you in the drive-thru, giving money can be a beautiful expression of generosity when it's done with a cheerful heart and no expectation of receiving anything in return. And as we discussed a few moments ago, few lessons are more powerful than generosity when it comes to raising a money rock star. Now, one of the biggest desires of every great parent is to raise kids who are extravagantly generous, wise beyond their years with money, and who experience that deep and lasting financial peace. And that's why in Family Money School, we spend an entire module focused on how to grow your kiddo's generosity muscles. It's why we've developed tons of student activities to build generosity, ones that research which charities align with your kiddo's values, how they can be intentional about leaving their own legacy. In fact, that's why Family Money School exists, to support parents who value generosity, parents like you, in raising money-wise kiddos by providing those money education courses for kids literally of any age. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to share how you can enroll today at an amazing special price for Home Life Academy members. Now, the final thing that great parents teach their kids about money is that it isn't everything. It's not. It's important, but it is not everything. Now, this is probably where the personal finance expert should lay out a very compelling money problem and use a brush, to paint it like it's the most important issue facing all of you. I mean, it would be kind of crazy for a car salesperson to try to convince a potential buyer that they should stick with their boring, old, reliable sedan and forego the flashy new sports car. And yet here I am telling you, money isn't the be-all and end-all, because it's not. It's not the most important thing in life, not even close. And it definitely should not be the sun around which your kiddo's world revolves. Now, in order to truly win with money and live life to the fullest, you have to put it in its proper place in the pecking order of life. That means it's after your faith, your family, and your physical and mental health. Because as soon as it creeps up into those upper echelons of priority, your kiddo is going to have big problems. They'll find themselves making decisions based on what's best for their wallet rather than, taking into account the health of their spirit, their relationships, or their physical and mental health. So establishing this pillar of money for your kiddo is absolutely critical to them experiencing financial peace. So how can you make this happen? Well, you may have heard before that more is caught than taught. But just because that's true doesn't mean you shouldn't tell your kids money isn't everything, because you should tell them that. You definitely should. Check out this quote from actor Jim Carrey. He said, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so that they can see it's not the answer." Ask your kiddo what they think he means. When he says the answer, what is he referring to? The answer to what? And Carrey isn't the only one who's discovered that money doesn't deliver on all the happiness it seems to promise. Check out these other thought-provoking quotes to get your kiddo talking. It was Ben Franklin who said, "Money has never made man happy, nor will it. There is nothing in its nature to produce happiness. The more of it one has, the more one wants." King Solomon, very wise guy, said, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money." And then a couple anonymous quotes that I love. "Money will buy you a bed, but not a good night's sleep. It'll buy you a house, but not a home. It'll buy you a companion, but not a friend." And then the last one, "Some people are so poor that all they have is money." Now use these quotes as jumping off points for talking about money with your kiddo and what it can and cannot bring us. Encourage them to learn from Carey, Franklin, Solomon, and countless others when they tell us that money is truly not everything, and it does not deliver on what it promises. And for many parents, money is oftentimes on their mind. So how do you go about teaching this to your kids? Well, don't make money the focus of your life. Whether it's shopping for entertainment, talking to your kids about all the great deals you got, how much you saved, or honestly, even teaching your kids about money all the time, all of these actions can communicate to your kids that money is the most important thing in life. And while money is important, it's not the most important thing in life. And if you find yourself talking about money more than you do about faith, family, or your health, your kids will pick up on this. So instead of talking about what you don't have or what you would like to buy, try instead being intentionally grateful for what you do have. Focus on that. Talk about how you can use the resources you currently have to do the things that really matter in life, like deepening your faith, strengthening your family relationships, and improving your physical fitness. Activities like going for a hike and enjoying the amazing creation, having a family games or movie night, or going for a bike ride, they cost nothing or very little. Now, in addition to these strategies, focusing on generosity can be a great way to take your kiddos' focus off of money and put it on others and things like their faith, their family, and their friends. When most people stop to consider what it means to give, the first thought that pops into their mind is giving money. And yes, giving money can be an important part of being generous, but it's just that, a part. In fact, focusing on only giving money neglects two other key ways that you can use to express generosity. Now, of all the resources on earth, the most precious is time. And that's because, it's the only resource that we are all given the same amount of each day. All of us are given 24 hours every day, no more, no less. Unlike other things like, cars, houses, or vacations, you can't buy more time if you're rich. And when people have their time cut short on earth, the response is always heart-wrenching. Think about the last time you went to a funeral when somebody had lost money. Yeah, you haven't. And because of the precious nature of time, it is incredibly valuable. And that's why one of the most impactful things that you can actually give is your time. You only have 24 hours each day. So when you decide to go out for coffee with a friend, send a text to check in on someone you haven't spoken with in a long time, or to volunteer at your church or local soup kitchen, you're making a contribution that is literally invaluable. So with that in mind, here's an activity that you can do as a family to be generous with your time and to model that money isn't everything. Now, few things are more uplifting than a handwritten note. The combination of time taken and thoughtfulness is hard to beat. So as a family, take a time to pen some encouraging words to those people whose lives are focused around serving the community. First responders, things like your local hospital, fire department, or police station. Then deliver them to your local emergency workers as a way to show your gratitude. Now, however you decide to express your generosity, there's no doubt that one of the best ways to grow in generosity is to flourish in gratitude. And that's one of the reasons why inside of Family Money School, we talk about tons of ways both your family and your kids can make this happen. That's one of the things that makes Family Money School so different from other financial curriculums for kids, is our focus on generosity and gratitude. And why do we focus on that? Well, because as your kiddo grows in gratitude, not only is it good for their spirit, you can rest assured that they'll be well on their way to mastering their money and to living a life of financial peace. Now, it's critical that your kiddo understands that money isn't everything. Money can't buy you good health or happiness. It can't give you a hug when you've had a rough day or bring back a loved one who's passed away. No, it's not everything, but it's important to understand that it will ruin your life if you let it. We all know, and many have probably personally experienced, that gaining wisdom with money is a vital part of living a life of peace and fulfillment. And I know, because you're here, that you care deeply about passing on these values to your child so that they can live a life of gratitude, generosity, and financial peace. And if the values and insights that I've shared today, if they resonate with you, then I know you're going to love the courses inside of Family Money School that are designed to help you raise kids who thrive with money as adults. So I want to show you a couple of offers that I put together to help you know exactly what to do to guarantee that your kiddo experiences that financial peace as an adult. So I'm going to go through the individual courses, and then I'm going to go through an offer that's going to let you buy 2 courses for the price of 1, which is pretty sweet. So first, for younger kids, 12 and under, we have developed a course called Young Money Adventures, a course that equips parents to inspire their kiddos to be wise with money, by giving them the financial foundations that they need to live lives of financial peace. Now, this is a parent-directed course that is chock full of hands-on activities to use with your kids. There's engaging and beautifully designed printables and resources to provide support along the way, as well as proven teaching techniques that will have you confidently teaching your child the values, skills, and knowledge they need to rock their money as adults in no time. Now, each day there are countless teachable moments that you can use to pass on money wisdom to your child. And Young Money Adventures guides parents to take advantage of them. Now, as a standalone course, Young Money Adventures retails for $67. That's the video teachings, the family activities, the customizable chore charts, there's money conversation starters, printables, everything you need to lay the foundation for future financial peace for $67. But because you participated in this training today, because you're a part of the Home Life Academy crew, I know you're serious about taking the action that you need to raise a money rock star. So I'm discounting the price today to $47. You get everything for $47. Now, let's say you have teens. Well, I've got you covered there as well. I built a course that I'm absolutely pumped about. It's called Money Genius Academy, and it gives your teen the financial values, knowledge, and skills that they need to be a money-savvy adult. Now, this is a self-directed course, so your kiddo directs themselves, and it combines over 50 beautifully designed video-based lessons and the high-quality teaching of a veteran educator, that's me, yours truly, with engaging and enriching printable student activities. There's over 50 student activities and notes to guide students through the ins and outs of personal finance. And not only that, but your kids will be having so much fun doing these activities, which are completely relevant to their age and their stage right now, that they honestly might forget that they're even learning. Now, normally you get all the video lessons, the student activities, for every lesson. That's over 50 money activities, over 100 printables, including student notes for every lesson, answer keys for $137. But again, because I want you to start raising your money rockstar today, I'm discounting the price and giving it to you for $107. So $107 for Money Genius Academy. But that is only part of the deal. Remember, I said I wanted to give you 2 courses for the price of 1. So, I know that there are lots of families that have a quiver full of kids at different ages and stages who need both courses. Does that mean you're going to need to shell out close to $200 to get everything? No, absolutely not. That's why I've specifically crafted a course to meet the needs of families with kiddos of all ages. It's called the Ultimate Family Money School Bundle, and it provides age-appropriate financial education for children and teens as they grow and mature. It's the perfect option for families with kids of all ages. You can use the course over and over again with all of your kids. Now, with lifetime access to both Young Money Adventures and Money Genius Academy, plus any future updates, the Ultimate Family Money School Bundle makes it simple and easy to find high-quality, engaging, professionally designed money resources to equip and inspire your children to live lives of financial wisdom, generosity, and gratitude. And when you buy today, you'll be setting your kids up to flourish with their finances by giving them those foundational money skills that are taught throughout both courses in the Ultimate Family Money School Bundle. Now, you can see there, normally this course goes for $167, but for you, I put together a killer deal because I know you're serious about taking action. So when you buy today, you'll get both courses, over 70 user-friendly video lessons, 125 plus printable activities and resources, plus live monthly Q&As where you'll get all the personalized direction and guidance you need to raise a money genius, all for $127. At the end of the day, no matter how old your kids are, every parent wants to raise children who have the financial foundation they need to thrive with money as adults. Parents want to feel confident that they've done everything they can to ensure that, when their kids leave the nest, they have the skills and the knowledge needed to make wise financial decisions. Now, the difference is that for some parents, this is just a vague wish. After all, a goal without a plan is simply that, a wish. For others, though, parents like you, they actually give legs to their hopes to make them a reality. And Family Money School gives you everything you need to make that happen. And I can't wait to help your kiddo enjoy the financial peace that they were meant to experience. I look forward to seeing you inside of the courses.